Welcome to Titan HST's Business Continuity Today, hosted by Todd DeVoe, where planning meets reality.
Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are at in this fine world. And I am Todd DeVoe, Director of Emergency Management at Titan HST. I also teach at the post-secondary level, and learning and sharing what I've learned is, well, one of my passions. So I guess that's why I like teaching, right? So, the other day I was looking at some stuff, and I'm having a guest come on another show that I do called the Todd DeVoe Show, David Redmond, on this Thursday, and we're going to be discussing active shooter planning, specifically with schools, and some of the issues that are there. And the conversation came up with the idea here that businesses, and pretty much everybody, when they practice and drill, they end when law enforcement shows up and the bad guy is neutralized. And I talked a little bit about this last week, and I want to kind of go a little bit deeper into it this week on what does it mean for organizations to practice and to really get into what really the effects are of the active violence, the active shooter, on your business, on your location, on the people that work for you. Now, last week we talked a little bit about the psychological aspects of things. Today, let's talk about some of the physical side of what this is. So, the physical building, what does it mean? Right? What does that do? So, you have to process that scene. You, whether if one person is injured, or not, or one person is killed, or more, there's still this process that goes through, right? And so law enforcement obviously is going to take that scene, right? They're going to hold it until they go through the meticulous part of building the case against the bad guy. And even if the bad guy has been neutralized, if he's dead, they still have to investigate. They still have to go through and look at this. So you're not going to necessarily turn around and have your office back within minutes. And sometimes it could be weeks. Sometimes it could be months before you're able to re-enter that facility that you're at. So when you're planning specifically for that act of violence in your organization, right? And we have to do this today, right? Let's just get beyond the idea that it's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen here. So this is another issue that we have someplace else. It doesn't happen in my town. Like I told you last week, the city that I worked for, we called it Mayberry by the Sea. It's a safe little community. Nothing bad ever happens there, right? Until it does. And so if you have that concept that it's not going to happen here, there's a book I'd like to turn you on to called the Ostrich Paradox. And so you should really read that, right? So let's go beyond that. Let's plan for an act of violence occurring in your jurisdiction, in your business, right? And again, it doesn't have to be active shooter. It could be somebody who, puts a pipe bomb in there, does chemical attack, does all sorts of different ways that people portray violence onto others. So you have this event that happens. Law enforcement is going to respond. Fire is going to respond. And then when that response is over, they go back to wherever they're going for the fire. Law enforcement keeps control of the facility until their investigation is complete. So what's your plan? How do you keep doing business after that occurs? Now, we talked last week about the psychological aspect of really being there for your team. Yes, it absolutely needs to be done, right? You have to be there for your team. But then on the other side, if say you're Amazon, for instance, right? Do you still have to there's still stuff you need to do. You're still producing, you're still pushing product out. The business is going on, right? Worldwide, that is. So what is your plan? So you have to really take a look at your business continuity plan in the sense of, where can I send packages? Where can I send my office workers to go? Where can I continue to do business after that happens? In some cases, you should have a mutual aid agreement or a mutual agreement with another business or another office place. Maybe you look at temporary office buildings, right? You have all these. I don't want to name by names, but you have these temporary office buildings that you can move into that have everything there for you. You have office furniture, everything is ready to go. It's a fee. You go in there and you use that space for a period of time until you're able to go back and repopulate your old office. Then the question is do you really want to go back to your old office, right? Maybe this is something that's in part of your plan saying, hey, if something happens here, we're just going to have to look for new real estate. And that's a possibility, right? Because do you want to go back to an area that has already has, for lack of a better term, bad feelings and issues that are happening or because of the act of violence that occurred? We talked about last week how you're going to have a certain percentage of employees that won't come back to work, right? They're going to either quit, retire, they're going to have not the ability to work in the same location again. So maybe you move them or you move your entire office. Think about that, right? Have that conversation with your team. What does that look like? What disruption does that occur for your business? And can you get up and running if you have to move your entire operation to another location, right? These are some of the conversations that we're not having. They're uncomfortable. They truly are uncomfortable conversations, right? They bring anger and fear and all these other emotions up when you're having these conversations, but they're important conversations to have with your team, with your C-suite, with your directors and your managers about that. We want to feel safe in the location where we're working, and we want to provide a safe work environment. And so having that conversation on the bad side of things sometimes is uncomfortable. But by having that conversation, you also are able to take a look and be able to provide that safety, that safe or place to work, that feeling of safety for all your employees that are going to that facility every day. I've worked in a couple different locations where my responsibility was a campus, and working with the campus safety department, being able to keep each and every building a safe location for students and faculty and staff. And that was really important for us to do that. And we did this by having these conversations about the what ifs. And we even talked about it even in the sense of not even just active violence, but what happens if there's a fire in that particular building and what do we do next? See, leaning forward and having these conversations, right, doesn't necessarily bring badness, right? Some people feel that way. Okay, leaning forward and having these conversations really does allow you to be ahead of the situation when something occurs. We need to plan for the idea that something will occur, not that it's never going to happen here, because the attitude of it's not going to ever happen here is really what's put you behind the curve. And when something does occur, your decision-making process is slowed down. Part of this conversation isn't just to have that physical location to go to. It's also helping you go through that decision-making process when you're under stress. And that's the other side of this too. Being under stress and making poor decisions really builds upon and makes it worse, right? But being under stress and having decisions that are already pre-made in the sense that you have a playbook that you can pull from, right, makes it so it's easy. The difference between somebody who can make a decision like this be correct and the person who can't is the fact that they've gone through training and practices, and they've gotten it down, right? Law enforcement, military, fire department, firefighters, right? Why do they make decisions well under stress? Because they've gone through the training, they've done it, they've practiced it, they've been there, they've done that, and your body goes into the ability to be able to make a decision like this. We do the same thing in emergency management in our EOCs. We have these drills, we tabletop things, we talk through stuff. So we have the ability to do this. Having that conversation about where to go next after an act of violence occurs in your facility, right, or to your organization is critical for you to be able to make that decision in a timely fashion, to be able to not only just serve your customers, which is important, but also to serve the employees and your organization well. Hey, everybody, I know this is a very uncomfortable conversation to have. And over the last few weeks, we've seen, well, a lot of this happening due to active violence across the country. Unfortunately, it sounds like this is something, regardless of what we do, is going to be with us for a long time. We're in this situation together. Let's come together. Let's talk about this and let's see what we can do to prevent it. And let's see what we can do to recover from it. Hey, everybody, thank you for joining me today. And please check out Titan HST for all your communication needs. Until next time, please, everybody, stay safe and stay hydrated.